The United States is unique. Our founding fathers stood for the establishment of freedom of religion at a time when it was unprecedented. It was impossible for them to imagine the benefits their lobbying would have on this country in the modern day. As globalization shrinks the world and it becomes increasingly more difficult to avoid people who are different from us, the United States is positioned to accept this evolution in ways that may seem impossible to other countries because of the actions of these men. By studying similarities and differences of major world religions, we can hope to establish bonds and break down barriers in order to use religion as a means of unity, not violence. Today, I will give you a few examples of those similarities and how slight our differences can seem in comparison. In the modern day, we still struggle with accepting and integrating different cultures. Various faiths, new and old, are not to be feared or seen as threatening. Instead, they are beneficial. In fact, our economic stability, now heavily dependent on international markets, relies on acceptance of religious diversity. Imposing religious standards limits collaboration between nations, societies, and religions. The United States is compelled to continue its dedication to freedom of religion and set modern precedents for other countries, just as we did almost 250 years ago. Rejection of differences often comes from a suspicion of the unknown. It is human nature to protect against potential threats until they are deemed friendly. This can be easily solved because few religions pose actual threats to America. Most would rather be left to their own devices. A good way to overcome this wariness of the unfamiliar is to acknowledge similarities that other cultures share with our own. A quick glance of the major world religions immediately reveals striking similarities that cannot be ignored. Followers of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and related groups like Christian Science, Jehovah's Witness, and Nation of Islam and Rastafari are monotheistic, believers in one single God, as are Sikhs, deists, and Hindus to a certain extent. The members of these religions make up more than half of the world's population, an astounding figure. Most major world religions also share the belief in an afterlife, which includes rewards or punishments for the actions one committed on earth, establishing moral conduct for humans, right and wrong. The perception that God has an active role on earth is also very common. In some cases, God may take different forms or speak through a human to direct the right ways of living. The Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Spirit, and the avatars of Hindu deities are such examples. Similarities in afterlife stories and number of deities may be critiqued as vague, broad parallels, but it goes to show that the most essential principles unite so many people. An important similarity between three major world religions that have been in almost constant conflict is religious text. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism share not only the paternal lineage of Abraham, but also their religious foundation. In 2008, the Pew Research Center found that in the United States, denominations of these religions make up 80% of the population. 4 out of 5 people in the U.S. look to the Old Testament for the foundation of their practices. Islam, which is often seen as a very controversial religion in America, shares not only the Old Testament, but also the New Testament of the Bible with Christians. It seems that the majority of Americans have much more in common than they claim. A casual comparison of Christianity and Islam exposes very important elements that may not be known by the greater population, and that help to enlighten those who are skeptical. Jesus is a prominent figure in the Quran, mentioned even more than the Prophet Muhammad. Muslims believe, just as Christians do, that he was born of a virgin and upon his death ascended into heaven, that he was also an agent of God to spread the holy message and will return to earth for the final judgment. His teachings of right and moral actions heavily influence both religions, and morality typically is a constant that many people derive from their religious experience. It's another unifying factor among the citizens of the world. Each religion is inherently different in critical ways, but that doesn't prevent some similarities from existing. Many studies show that people imagine differences and exaggerate them when in reality they are very minor, like twins proving one is not like the other, but their genetics tell a different story. Religion is a very sensitive and personal topic. It is a defining factor in so many lives, but it should be used to better societies, not tear them apart, especially in a country like the United States, where religious diversity has been characteristic from our founding. Whatever your religion or background, try to go out into the world and find the similarities that you share with others, and not the differences.
Love is my religion.